Communism. What is it? What strange manner of reasoning brought it about? Who are the apostles of a system that attempts to destroy the American way of life?
After World War II, a new kind of enemy emerged, not across distant oceans, but in the imagined shadows of our own cities and neighborhoods. As the Cold War intensified, Hollywood studios turned their cameras toward the rising specter of communism at home, producing a wave of films steeped in fear, patriotism, and suspicion. While some of these films were genuinely impactful, others have not aged quite so gracefully. Stay with us as we count down 10 of the most striking Red Scare films of the 1950s. In part 1 of our countdown, we dive into 5 unforgettable entries from the height of 1950s paranoia. And we'll start with numbers 10 through 6. Number 10, The Whip Hand. Released in 1951 by RKO Pictures and directed by William Cameron Menzies, The Whip Hand was originally conceived as a thriller about a hidden Nazi compound in the U.S. sheltering a still-alive Adolf Hitler. But in post-war America, RKO, under the direction of Howard Hughes, refilmed large portions to replace the Nazis with Soviet agents and shift the story to Cold War paranoia. Menzies, one of Hollywood's most legendary production designers, best known for his work on Gone with the Wind, brought a stylized and menacing atmosphere to the film, heightening its sense of isolation and dread. The story changes, however, proved more challenging. Elliot Reed stars as Matt Corbin, a photojournalist on a fishing trip who stumbles upon a nearly deserted town in Wisconsin. The locals are secretive, hostile, and frightened.
Wonder if I could come in and clean this up first. Bleeding pretty bad.
You're on private property, mister.
I won't take any of it with me.
You're on private property.
As Matt investigates, he discovers that a group of former Nazis, now working for the Soviet Union, have taken over the area and are plotting to unleash germ warfare on the United States. Among them is a deranged scientist performing experiments on human captives in preparation for contaminating America's water supply. With the help of a local woman, played by Carla Belenda, Matt uncovers the plot and tries to alert the authorities while dodging sabotage and assassination attempts. Despite its modest budget, the film's eerie tone and Menzies' atmospheric direction elevated it above many of its Red Scare contemporaries. The idea of ex-Nazis turned communist agents lurking in the American heartland gave the film a distinctive, if implausible, punch.
All you Americans are alike. Stupid, guileless. By the time we are finished, American View magazine won't even have any readers. There are enough germs here to destroy the United States when the word is given.
Though heavy-handed in message, The Whip Hand remains a fascinating window into how Cold War fears shaped Hollywood storytelling, even when that meant rewriting history mid-production. Number 9, Invasion USA. Released in 1952 by Columbia Pictures and directed by Alfred E. Green, Invasion USA blends Cold War hysteria with atomic age nightmares in a cautionary tale about complacency and national unpreparedness. The movie poster screamed, "It will scare the pants off you," according to gossip columnist Hedda Hopper. The story begins in a New York bar where the mysterious and brooding Mr. Omen is drinking brandy and conversing with a cross-section of affluent Americans. Each represents a slice of post-war society: a TV newsman, a wealthy socialite, a California industrialist, a Western rancher, and a congressman. All express disdain for communism, but also a resistance to taxes and a reluctance to make sacrifices for defense.
Now, what do you think of the draft? I think America wants new leadership.
New leadership? What kind of leadership do you suggest?
I suggest a wizard.
A what?
A wizard, like Merlin, who could kill his enemies by wishing them dead. That's the way we'd like to beat communism now, by wishing it dead.
Suddenly, they find themselves immersed in a terrifying reality. Soviet forces launch a full-scale invasion of the United States. As the chaos unfolds, each of the bar patrons confronts the consequences of their inaction. One dies broadcasting in a collapsing newsroom. Another flees into a nuclear tidal wave, and a congressman is gunned down in a surprise Capitol attack. Just as the last character jumps from a building to avoid assault, the camera cuts back. It was all a hypnotic warning, orchestrated by Omen to jolt them and the audience into awareness. Invasion USA has the cooperation of the U.S. Civil Defense Agency and made liberal use of World War II stock footage to simulate attacks. Though the film was widely panned for its melodrama and low production values, it became a cult favorite for its lurid spectacle and bold, if heavy-handed, message. Number 8. The Red Menace. Produced by Republic Pictures in 1949 and directed by R.G. Springsteen, The Red Menace was one of the earliest post-war entries into the anti-communist genre. Made on a modest budget by a studio best known for its B-westerns and Saturday serials, this film helped lay the groundwork for the wave of Red Scare cinema that would follow in the 1950s. Robert Rockwell stars as Bill Jones, a disillusioned World War II veteran who, after being swindled in a real estate scam, falls into the orbit of the Communist Party USA.
You mean the government won't do anything after I get fleeced out of my last $2,500 bucks?
We can't do anything. These real estate firms are not controlled by the government. We tried to warn the veterans, but they're impatient.
Sure, the veterans always impatient, always wrong. But why don't you do something about the way these real estate outfits operate and advertise, so a guy don't end up with a scrubby lot on a hillside way out of town?
Seeking purpose, Bill is lured in by promises of equality and justice, but quickly discovers a darker side. As part of his party indoctrination, he's assigned a tutor, a committed female comrade, and the two begin to fall in love. But their faith in the cause crumbles when they witness party enforcers murder a fellow member who dared to question the doctrine. When the couple tries to leave the party, they're branded traitors and hunted down by communist assassins. The Red Menace leaned heavily on melodrama and archetypes, portraying communists as deceptive, violent, and un-American.
You're too late. You're too late, I tell you! You don't know it, but the revolution is here! You're talking to Commissar Black, you fools! You thought you could arrest me. Me, Commissar Black! Yes, Ivan Kraus disappeared because she was murdered.
The film's stark moral contrasts and exaggerated scenarios made it a favorite of conservative community groups, churches, and veterans organizations, especially during its initial release. Still, its theatrical run was brief. After poor box office performance, Republic withdrew it after just a few months. In 1953, the studio re-edited and re-released it under a new title, Underground Spy. While it lacks the polish of later entries in the genre, The Red Menace captures the early anxieties of Cold War America and stands as a vivid, if unsubtle, expression of post-war political paranoia. Number 7. Walk East on Beacon. Released in 1952 by Columbia Pictures and directed by Alfred L. Worker, Walk East on Beacon takes its title from the gritty streets of Boston, but its inspiration from the very top of American law enforcement. Based on an article written by FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover for Reader's Digest, titled The Crime of the Century, the film serves as a dramatized endorsement of the Bureau's surveillance efforts during the height of the Red Scare. George Murphy, previously known primarily in films as a song and dance man, stars as FBI agent James Belden, assigned to track down a communist spy ring attempting to steal sensitive U.S. atomic research. The case centers around Professor Albert Kafer, played by Finley Curry, a brilliant scientist forced into cooperation with Soviet agents who are holding his son hostage to ensure his compliance.
Your name's well known to us, though. For the work you did with the communists in Buchenwald.
Buchenwald? I was only fighting Hitler then.
We have ways of proving that you joined the party.
That is impossible.
Using what were cutting-edge surveillance techniques at the time, lip-reading, wiretaps, and hidden cameras, the FBI races against time to break the espionage network before Kafer can be smuggled out of the country via submarine. What sets Walk East on Beacon apart is its documentary-style realism. Shot on location in Boston, the film emphasizes procedural detail and pays tribute to the FBI's professionalism. Unsurprisingly, Hoover approved the project, and the Bureau's cooperation in production is evident throughout. While the performances are restrained and the characters often take a back seat to the process itself, the film reflects a key cultural goal of the era: to reassure the American public that the FBI was vigilant, incorruptible, and always one step ahead of communist infiltration. The film's popularity extended beyond the screen. It was also adapted into comic book form by Fawcett Comics, helping to spread its anti-communist message to younger audiences in a bold and graphic way. Murphy, a prominent Hollywood conservative, would later be elected as a U.S. Senator from California, becoming one of the few performers to successfully transition into national politics. Number 6. The Woman on Pier 13. Released in 1950 by RKO Pictures and directed by Robert Stevenson, The Woman on Pier 13 is a moody noir thriller tangled in deceit, blackmail, and ideological warfare. The film was originally previewed under the blunt title, I Married a Communist, but it tested poorly with audiences. Just before its release, RKO changed the name, though its political message remained crystal clear. Announced in September 1948 as the studio's first major production following Howard Hughes' takeover of RKO, the project carried with it more than cinematic weight. Hughes reportedly offered the script to directors as a kind of loyalty test, gauging their willingness to engage with anti-communist material. Those who declined were suspected of political unreliability. The story follows Brad Collins, a successful San Francisco shipping executive played by Robert Ryan. Brad has just married Nan Lowry, played by Lorraine Day, after a whirlwind romance. But their honeymoon is disrupted by Christine Norman, an old flame who suddenly re-enters his life. Nan senses something isn't right. Brad has a secret. His real name is Frank Johnson, and he was once a violent enforcer for the Communist Party during the Great Depression. Now, Communist cell leader Vanning is threatening to expose him unless Brad sabotages upcoming labor negotiations at the docks.
Well, Johnson. Oh, by the way, this has been brought up to date for you.
Vanning proves how serious he is by ordering the drowning of a suspected FBI informant right in front of him. To further tighten their grip, the party sends Christine to seduce and indoctrinate Nan's younger brother Don Lowry, pulling him into their web. Christine, however, falls in love with Don, complicating her loyalties.
Say that, darling. These people are new to you, and so are their ideas. But then so am I. Just keep an open mind. You'll be surprised how much you'll learn.
Is that a promise?
What do you think?
Nan becomes suspicious and ultimately confronts the truth about her husband.
Because Don found out that the great Bradley Collins is really Frank Johnson, a member of the Communist Party and working for the party right now.
You're lying.
In a tense climax at the waterfront, Brad, seeking redemption, turns on his former comrades. The Woman on Pier 13 embodies the paranoia of its era, portraying communists not just as political adversaries, but as criminal conspirators willing to manipulate, seduce, and kill to achieve their aims. Though criticized for its blunt moralism, the film remains a vivid example of how noir aesthetics were harnessed for ideological ends. So far, we've seen ex-Nazis turned Soviet bioterrorists, courtroom crusaders, and communists lurking in shipping yards, science labs, and PTA meetings. In the 1950s, paranoia wasn't just a theme, it was a genre. These first 5 films remind us that Red Scare cinema came in many forms: earnest, outrageous, noir-tinged, and sometimes unintentionally hilarious. But the story doesn't end here. In Part 2, we count down the top 5 Red Scare films of the 1950s. The best and the most surprising is still to come.